Thank you very much for joining us for the midday news on Camnet TV. To present it, my name is Marco Kozi. The headlines: governance actors weigh in on claims of political persecution. A policy think tank criticizes government's decision to stop selling maize to millers. And in international news, fighting resumes after AID in Sudan. And in sports news, Zambia to compete in the World Chess Championships. For details of these and other stories, join us shortly after this break.
Umwana na nyina ingana babutuluka uwinge wo munankwatira sambe nani mwe ipikia ine ishenya bo mwikere nabo.
Get all the latest updates in court news only on Camnet TV. We take you and make you feel part of the court sessions through our in-depth coverage of the adjudication process. Get informed on those who have been arrested, delayed and denied the police bond or bail victims, persons taking plea, court adjournments, verdicts, and those administration issues in the judiciary. Camnet TV is on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and find us on channel 106 on Topstar. You can also follow and give us a like on our social media platforms. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
And now the news in detail. Concerned Citizens for Justice and Human Rights has emphasized the value of inclusive and multi-sectoral approaches in addressing child marriages in Zambia. In an interview with Camnet News, Institution Director Richard Nkua notes that despite the enactment of the Child Court Bill, issues affecting children in Zambia, such as early marriages and deferment, among others, keep on increasing. He has called on government to harmonize customary and statutory laws to avoid loopholes and inconsistencies. Meanwhile, advocates for Child Justice Executive Director Josephat Nkoma has re-echoed the need to partner with the government to continue teaching communities about harmful impact of child marriages. Here's a report.
The high number of child marriages in Zambia is a national crisis, despite the country having seen the Child Court Bill become law with an aim to solidify the rights and protection among others. The country continues to record various issues affecting children. In Nega, Mazabuka District, Southern Province, this 14-year-old girl was at the verge of finding herself married due to the fact that she fell pregnant. The man who impregnated her is 18 years old. Beatrice, not her real name, has dropped from school with the intention of getting married. Most of her mates in this area of Nega are married. Some got married at the age of 12. The victim, who is in grade 7, was not comfortable talking to this reporter, nor the man who impregnated her. However, the man indicated that he was not comfortable with the case being reported to the police, pleading that it be resolved away from the law. Mother to the victim could not control herself but lament why her daughter was defiled.
That she can even collapse, like she's sort of common.
Considering the fact that she's a general worker with a lower income, marriage was the last resort she thought of her 14-year-old daughter. Concerned Citizen for Justice and Human Rights has emphasized the value of inclusive and multi-sectoral approaches to address child marriage in Zambia. The organization says it has so far retrieved 156 girls from early marriage across the country from January 2023 to date.
The challenges that we are facing in order to eliminate early marriages, number one, is finances and also materials that can support sensitize the communities in all the areas in this country, all the districts in this country. Apart from that, also we have got a challenge. The challenge, the church is not fully involved in fighting gender-based violence, more especially against a girl child. We need to come together as a church, media, and also other community leaders, so that we come together, we team up together, we sensitize the community.
Meanwhile, advocates for child justice calls on the need to teaching communities about the harmful impact of child marriage.
It's unfortunate that we continue getting reports of children that are being defiled by adults. Adults are meant to protect these children. Unfortunately, I think with the events that have been happening recently and showing the statistics of increase in defilement, I think it's very unfortunate, and then there's need for us as civil society organization, government institutions and parents as well to make sure that we bring this issue to a stop.
Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
6 people died, including the bus driver and an infant, following a collision involving a Tazara passenger train and a Likili bus service in Mpika district. The accident occurred on Sunday around 13 hours at Kabuka railway crossing point. The bus, which was heading to Kasama, had 65 people on board, and the Tazara train was en route to Nakonde. Initial investigations revealed that the bus hit into the passenger train bearing a number. Police spokesperson Danny Mwale confirmed the development to Camnet News. Shangombo District Commissioner Mubita Siamana has called on the local business community to take advantage of the plenty of land in Shangombo District, Western Province, and consider investing in fuel service stations. In an exclusive interview with Camnet News, Mr. Siamana says Shangombo District is one of the fastest growing rural communities in Zambia. However, the lack of certain facilities such as the bank and fueling stations continue to derail development. He regrets that people have to travel to either Senanga or Mongo district in order to access these facilities.
As a fast-growing district in Zambia, one of the fast-growing districts in Zambia, I'd want to appeal to the would-be investors to take advantage of our district. We have, in terms of land is plenty. We have a lot of land. All what we are looking forward to is any investor who could come and invest in a banking facility and a filling station. These are the 2 major key areas we are looking forward to as a district. So it is fertile for development. It does affect us very much, and to an extent where if you need to do the procurement of fuel, one has to travel to Senanga. And that is consuming fuel, like reducing the stock. Even when it comes to banking, we rely on Senanga, Zanaco or Mungu. So we're making this passionate appeal to the would-be investors. Please take advantage of our district. It is very, very fertile for development.
The Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, JCTR, has challenged investigative wings to be conducting thorough investigations before arresting people. In recent weeks, there have been concerns from the opposition political party leaders that they are being persecuted by the government through arrests and detentions before being formally charged. And JCTR Executive Director, Father Alex Muyebe, tells Camnet News that it is critical that police do their work in a manner that it does not leave room for insinuations related to political persecution. And social scientist Innocent Kolala underpins the need to ensure that enforcement of the rule of law does not undermine human rights. Here's a report.
President Hakainde Hichilema, ever since he took over office in the year 2021, he has been a proponent of the rule of law and good governance. Among the key pronouncements has been the need for law enforcement agencies to be conducting thorough investigations before effecting arrests. However, there has been an emerging trend where people are arrested and only charged after spending nights in police cells, thus contradicting the rules of justice according to governance actors. The casualties of this tactic, who are mostly opposition political party leaders, have tended to believe that it is a tantamount to political persecution. We spoke to the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflections, JCTR Executive Director, Father Alex Muyebe, who challenged the investigative wings to be conducting investigations before arresting people.
Sure, the speculation that maybe a certain section of the society is being persecuted, as it were. But so what we would like to see is that before any arrest can be done, they should have all the evidence gathered, and also as soon as the arrests have been made, there should be a very quick process of the legal process through the courts of law, so that these matters are quickly concluded, and so it's in court through this process of legal prosecution that you'll be able to tell where the truth lies.
Father Muyeve says there is a need to ensure that the rules of justice are fairly applied.
Maybe persecution of some sectors of the society, but it's only when the matters have come through the courts that it will be able to make an informed decision. At the moment, it's people just taking sides without maybe there are reasons why people can take sides to say, well, maybe some families are being targeted or some individuals are being targeted. But if these matters are prosecuted professionally, and then we'll be able to arrive at the conclusion, each one of us will be able to make an informed decision or form an informed opinion as to what exactly is happening.
We also spoke to social scientist Innocent Kolala, who also called on investigative wings to be operating within the confines of the law to avoid denting the image of the head of state.
Article 15 of the Constitution also talks about ensuring that no one is supposed to be subjected for brutality, even in terms of torture. I think as they are investigating as well as prosecuting, the police need to ensure that they abide to this. And for real, His Excellency, our Republican President, his tone has been very, very clear of ensuring that the human rights is being upheld. Not only human rights, even the rule of law is supposed to be upheld. But what we have started reading in the tabloid, as well as, of course, seeing what is happening, I think, in other media houses, I think it's very, very, very unfortunate that we have seen that the police, I think they want to derail, they want to disappoint His Excellency, our Republican President, in terms of ensuring that the rule of law is attained.
Well, according to Edward Snowden, the rule of law does not mean police are in charge, but that we all answer to the same laws.
Again, don't say the government is witch hunting. No. Give to Caesar.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Meanwhile, Community Action Against Corruption has observed that it is not a new phenomenon by politically exposed people arrested by the law enforcement agencies in Zambia to label the fight against corruption as political witch hunt. Organization Chief Executive Officer Brighton Tembo notes that even during the late Levi Mwanawasa's administration, the fight against corruption was labeled a tribal and political witch hunt. He says labeling the fight against corruption as a political witch hunt has mainly been used by those who were given the power to preside over state resources but decided to abuse the state resources.
Zambia, corruption fight has always been labeled political witch hunt by the people arrested by the investigative wings of government. Even during the time of President Levi Mwanawasa, those who were found wanting by the investigative wings of government and got arrested, they labeled that fight as political witch hunt. So even the labeling of the current political corruption fight as the political witch hunt is not a new thing. It has been a defensive mechanism by those people who abused the office when they were given power to preside over the affairs of the country by participating in the abuse of state resources. So Zambians should be very much careful. They should not be swayed by the cries of the people who are labeling the current fight against corruption as political witch hunt. This will continue because they are a section of society who exactly understands the fact that if this fight against corruption gets successive, some people will lose their freedoms. So these people will go out and label the fight against corruption by whatever means they can use to win sympathy of the Zambians, so that Zambians can see that there is a political witch hunt and political persecution in Zambia.
The Center for Trade Policy and Development has criticized the government's decision to abruptly stop the sale of maize to millers. Last month, the Food Reserve Agency announced that it is no longer selling maize to millers, grain traders, or any member of the public with immediate effect. Speaking with Camnet News, CTPD Executive Director Isaac Mwaipopo notes that the decision taken may compel the millers to be buying grain at an expensive price and transfer the burden to the consumers. He says the government should have first focused on improving the production of grain before halting the supply of the commodity to milling companies.
Per year, we do understand that the country needs close to 3 million metric tons for human, industrial, consumption needs. And if you look at our production in our country, it has always been hovering between 2.5 to around 3 million metric tons. So to make an abrupt decision of stopping to supply the millers will actually now create serious challenges in terms of the millers sourcing for grain. What would have expected from the Center for Trade Policy and Development is that government through the Ministry of Agriculture they should have worked with entities like the Zambia National Service, the Zambia Correctional Service, to first begin by improving the output in the agricultural sector, move our production from around 3 million metric tons to 5 million metric tons on an annual basis. Then you have the luxury to make decisions like the one that they have made, in the sense that you have over surplus in the country, and it is a surplus that the millers will ultimately begin to buy. But the decision that has abruptly been made, it means that the millers would have to source for grain, especially in times that we have reduction in the supply. It will mean that they'll be buying grain at quite expensive prices, which will ultimately be passed on to consumers whenever they're buying milling meal. So our recommendation to government through the Ministry of Agriculture is that they should become more coordinated. They should focus first on improving our level of productivity, and ultimately they can begin to make decisions like the one that has been taken by the Food Reserve Agency.
Youths in Kawe's Wacha constituency have passed a vote of no confidence against the area member of parliament, Sydney Mushanga. The youths say the area member of parliament in the past 2 years has been a letdown, accusing him of being an absentee parliamentarian. Meanwhile, addressing the aggrieved youths, Kawe Central Member of Parliament, Mrs. Chrysosta Piri, has assured them that government will always prioritize and take keen interest on issues that affect them regardless of their political affiliation. The lawmaker further encouraged the aggrieved youths to partner with the current government in fostering development in their respective constituencies.
These youths that you are seeing behind me, they are passing a vote of no confidence in you because you have no capacity anymore, and that you are just there to enrich yourself. Leadership is a pambana pakulira yo. As youths, our youths are about to tabakwetera CTF yali ba increase tapola fubale mona mu constituency yenu aba bantu nabakano kwiba lero chobalanda chakutira ati pave way for new legs, for fresh legs that will take Mwanza to another level. We want to appreciate you for what you have done, but not anymore. Therefore, in the name of Jesus, go!
You are the children of UPNG Chairman Mamusepela. So, decision of Munepanga, Kulila Kwenu, the government always have an. Whether Mutimuliku, who constituents could opposition member of parliament, but the government you want to sit with your member with the parapene, Ale Posa Kwamano Kumisepela. Naba Namayo. Definitely nine. That's why if you look at Zambia this time, Taisala government could pay the same amount of money. But what we want is the people to make sure that you access development, you access health.
On that note, we break for some commercials. We have more in international and sports news. Don't go away.
On Monday, 3rd July 2023, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba with his guests, Mr. Brebda Changala, political activist.
We are not swimming ashore. If we are not careful, we might sink.
And Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba.
So it's a serious matter of worry.
As they discuss concerns of human rights in Zambia.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
It's time! Camnet TV brings to you an exciting kids show called My Creation. Join me, Sarah Chandamangazagia, to interact with kids with special skills and talents between the age range of 9 to 17. This show will come to you every Saturday at 13:30 on Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back, and now in international news, there are reports of heavy fighting between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces in Sudan. The RSF say they have downed a fighter jet over Omdurman. Sporadic gunfights and airstrikes are taking place in the capital, Khartoum. At least 1,000 people have been killed since April and more than 2 million forced from their homes. Sudan's Civil Aviation Authority has extended the closure of airspace to all air traffic until July 10, with the exception of humanitarian aid flights. For this and many other international stories, we monitored the Al Jazeera and Africa News.
Fighting started in the early hours of Sunday morning around 5 a.m. local time, which is around 3 a.m. GMT in the northern part of the city of Omdurman, the twin city of the capital Khartoum. Now, people in the area in the northern part of Omdurman say that the rapid support forces tried to attack the Sudanese army position, and this is near an army airbase where the fighter jets that have been targeting the paramilitary rapid support forces have been taking off from. So the battles continued with heavy airstrikes launched by the Sudanese army against the rapid support forces fighters on the ground. There were also ground confrontations and battles ongoing, and it extended up to the central part of the city of Omdurman. But that's not the only place where there's been fighting. In the northern parts of the capital as well, there's been airstrikes launched, there's been artillery strikes in the eastern part of the capital, and the Rapid Support Forces said that it downed a Sudanese army fighter jet in the northern part of the capital in the city of Bahri. And now it's not clear what happened to the pilot who was flying the fighter jet. Neither the army nor the Rapid Support Forces gave an update about his condition. But people say that they know that, that there was, after the ending of the ceasefire between the Rapid Support Forces and the Sudanese army on the first day of Eid on Wednesday, they knew that fighting would intensify. And now residents say that they still remain trapped between the Rapid Support Forces and the Sudanese army as the fighting on the ground continues with no political solution in sight.
Burundian troops with the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia celebrated their country's 61st Independence Day in Mogadishu and Johar on Saturday. The events in both cities were attended by high-ranking officials, including ATMIS and United Nations representatives, such as the head of the African Union Transition Mission, Ambassador Mohamed El-Amin Souef. It is thanks to them that Burundi has contributed immensely to the ideal universal peace through political solutions anchored on mediation and constant engagement in favor of peace and security. Burundi has never hesitated to invest in peacekeeping operations, which to many people represent the unique hope for finding peace, like in Somalia and Central Africa.
With more than 3,000 Burundian troops committed to the largest AU peace support operation, you are making a difference daily to the security of the Somali people.
Burundi gained independence from Belgium on July 1st, 1962.
And now in sports, the Chess Federation of Zambia President Leslie Chikose will be sending off Chitumbo Mwali to Azerbaijan to compete in the World Championship. Zambia qualified among a few African countries for the global showpiece. And Federation President Leslie Chikuse tells Camnet Sports that Mwali has an opportunity to make the country proud during the Chess World Championship. And Chikuse is happy that a Zambian Tanda Nsakanya is the only African Abeta who has been selected to officiate at the World Championship.
Sending off our Zambia World Championship, representative Chitumbo Mwali to Azerbaijan. That is that is in July 29th. Chitumbo Mwali, as you may be aware, Zambia qualified amongst the few African countries that are going to basically take part in the World Championship in Azerbaijan. And Zambia will be represented by international master and current national champion Chitumbo Mwali in Azerbaijan, where he's going to fight for the World Championship. Now, the World Championship is the biggest world event. If, for example, Chitumbo Mwali was to win that championship, of course it's got stages, but if he was to win up to the final, he becomes the world champion. You can imagine how big that tournament is. So it's a tournament which gives him an opportunity to become world champion. So all the world champions take part in that tournament. So we're going to have the likes of Magnus Carlsen, Ding, and all the greatest players, the likes of Garry Kasparov, Karpov, Bobby Fischer, have all played at the World Championship. So this is the tournament, and of course, Chitumbo will be going with our arbiter Chanda Nsakanya, who is the only African who has been picked to become the referee at that World Championship. The only Africa. So Zambia, through international arbiter Chanda Nsakanya, is the only to be an arbiter at the World Championship.
To end the news, we look at the stories that made the headlines. Governance actors weigh in on claims of political persecutions. A policy think tank criticizes government's decision to stop selling maize to millers. In international news, fighting resumes after aid in Sudan. And in sports news, Zambia to compete in the World Chess Championships. Before we go, we now look at today's Camnet verse of the day, which comes from the book of Matthew chapter 5, verse 9 to 10, and it reads, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they that are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." That's it. That's all we had for the news at 12. But don't forget to join us for the main news at 19:30 this evening. But don't go away, because we now bring to you the lunch time cafe. Don't go away.
Water is life. Each drop counts, and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Renglow, your smart irrigation partner.
It's time! Camnet TV brings to you an exciting kid show called My Creation. Join me, Sarah Chandamagazagia, to interact with kids with special skills and talents between the age range of 9 to 17. This show will come to you every Saturday at 13:30 on Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Ingatamwishiwe pekeni tuliposhe bana fia sasa ushe umwana na nyina inganaba butuluka uwingeko munangu atika sambe nani mwe ipishya ina ipisheni abo mwikere nabo.
Coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Join me, Amazing Katamanda, on the weekly gospel show for those exciting and interesting interviews with your favorite gospel
Hold on to me when it's too dark to see. You cannot put your power back to war.
Hallelujah. And this time around, we are bringing to you entertainment news and the countdown, as you guys are able to nominate your top 3 favorite music videos of the week. Remember, it's every Saturday at 10:45. You can also catch repeats every Monday at 10 hours. Camnet TV is not just another time.
It's another exciting Monday. Welcome to another exciting program. This is the Lunchtime Cafe on Camnet TV. This program comes to you every Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and except Fridays. So Mondays to Thursdays, it comes always to you at exactly 12 hours. We start with the midday news, and then from there we get into what we call the emerging stories. Now, these are the stories that we suspect will be in our news. So this segment is aimed at giving you a glimpse or an idea of what you expect in our 19 hours 1930 main news. So this segment is followed by another segment which we call the Forgotten Stories segment. Now, on that particular segment, we take you way back into time just to remind you of some stories that happened a few years ago. And also after that, we give you another segment which we call the viewers' reactions, where we give you an opportunity as viewers to call us and give us your views on the stories that we are looking at on that particular day, or you give us an idea of what is happening in your area. If we could come and cover those particular stories. We also have another segment we call the main interview segment. On that particular segment, we bring in several newsmakers just to come and discuss various issues to do with governance, sports, entertainment, education, everything. So we do have that particular segment. Now remember that we are broadcasting to you live on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, on Topstar we are on channel 106. Remember also that we are live on our YouTube channel, which is Camnet TV, and also not forgetting our Facebook, which is Camnet TV. So those are the platforms you are catching us on, so you can inform your brothers and sisters and your neighbors and everybody to say it is a time for the Lunchtime Cafe on Camnet TV, so that nobody misses out on this exciting program. Now also remember that on this program, we give you an opportunity to talk to us and give us your views, and we are going to be sharing those particular numbers with you so that you can call us on live on TV, and also you can contribute via Facebook. Go to the comment section of this particular broadcast on our Camnet TV page and then leave your contributions there. We'll be more than happy to see what you think. But before we get into our first stories, we'd like to inform you that during the annual agriculture and commercial show, Camnet TV will be there, and we are going to be offering stand coverages at very competitive prices. So you can call our marketing department and make your orders now for those stand coverages. We'll be more than happy to come and visit your stand so that we show what you will be exhibiting during the 95th commercial show that will be taking place month end of July. So let's move on now, getting into the stories. We see the first story that is coming from the National Action for Quality Education in Zambia, which says it supports the strong warning by the Secretary to the Treasury, Mr. Felix Nkulukusa, against costly, endless and unnecessary workshops being conducted in the Ministry of Education. NACE's Media and Advocacy Director Peter Kalenga, however, says as his organization supports this progressive and sound alarm, it is important to inform the Secretary to the Treasury that the nation that these workshops are being condemned are not being organized by the head teachers but by senior officers at national, provincial and district levels. Now he says head teachers are only invited to participate in these particular workshops. So that's the first story that we expect to make the cut during our 1930 menus, talking about the endless workshops that are being held in the Ministry of Education. And the Secretary to the Treasury has warned against those particular workshops. That's what we expect. We expect the details of this particular story at 19:30 tonight. Moving on, the Copperbelt Energy Corporation says it It projects to have 100 megawatts of solar power being contributed to the national grid by the end of this year. Now, CEC Board Chairperson London Mwafulirwa tells Camnet News that currently the company is generating 34 megawatts from the Copperbelt University plant. Mr. Mwafulirwa says apart from the CBU solar plants, the company also has 2 more projects expected to produce a total of 65 megawatts of power by the end of this year. Let's have a look at this.
We moved from a 1 megawatt grid connected plant to do another 33 megawatts. So now the total is 34 megawatts from that plant. So it's no longer a project, it's real, it's live, it's contributing to the energy generation or electricity generation in the country. The project that we have are 2 other projects. We call them Itimpi and east of Ganaton. Those are at implementation stage to produce a total of 65 megawatts of power by this year end. So total replica of what we've done in the Riverside project, but now we're doing it in Ganaton East and Itimpi. So by the year end, we should have 100 megawatts of solar power being contributed to the national grid.
So that is about the Copperbelt Energy Corporation, talking about the solar power plants that they do have, and hoping that they will be contributing about 100 by the end of this year, 100 megawatts of power by the end of this year. So we do expect also that particular story to make the cut during the 1930 news this evening. Let's move on and look at the other stories. And this one says opposition Socialist Party has charged that lack of employment activities and poverty are contributing to mushrooming of community gangs, commonly known as junkies. Mr. Chinda is concerned that communities are no longer safe due to junkies. Let's have a look at this.
We have a lot of junks that are there, and some of junks have attacking our people, the breadwinners of the families, and this is a problem. And if we don't look at it now, it will be a huge problem for this country. This is because obviously the cost of living also, or the poverty levels in our homes has also caused that. And also is the education itself. We can say education is free, but you see when you leave school, the school leavers, when they try to go back, they know into GCE, it's not free. So education is not complete, it's not absolute free, because those that have left school, they cannot go back and get free education. So I think all these things must be looked at. We need to look at how do we bring back those young people that have left school but they don't have good results. How do we take them to school without charging them? So I think it's one of the aspects that we need to look at as government. So that is our encouragement also to government, that they should also look at that. They should also sensitize DC. They should go in the communities, sensitize most of our people the dangers of substance abuse and drug abuse. They should sensitize our people and enhance that sensitization. So we are worried on how we are living in our communities, because we are living with fear to be attacked by these same gangs coming from our young people we are calling junks.
So that's another story there which we expect to make the cut at the 1930 evening news on Camnet TV on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and channel 106 on Top Star. Now remember that we also broadcast live on our Facebook page, which is Camnet TV, and not forgetting our YouTube channel, which is also Camnet TV. So you can catch us live at 1930 with those particular stories. The other one, which we expect to make the cut during that particular news bulletin, says Reverend Archbishop Albert Chama, co-chair African Council of Religious Leaders, Religious for Peace has observed with concern that children's unguided exposure to social media is causing more harm than good. Archbishop Chama notes that despite progressive attributes of digital, it exposes children to harmful content and corrupt their morals. He says social media is subjecting children to security risks such as human trafficking. Let's have a look at this.
Kids go to Facebook, they meet people they don't know. Kids are always browsing things and they're reading things which are not of their age in terms of assimilating certain information or material. We are concerned. And I'm sure all of us as faith leaders, it's something that we are talking about in our churches. You know, if you talk about human trafficking or children abuse or molestation, it starts from what they are reading, and there's something that things are normal when they're not normal. But we are saying, yes, technology has come, but we are free to be responsible. And then we are also going to be working together with other stakeholders, especially the governments, that they put in place laws that protects the children, especially using the social media. What sort of information can they allow? Like in Zambia through ZICTA, they should have a control. What sort of information they let go through the system, and what can say no, it can't, or what can say yes, can be read by children. So all that has to be worked on, but we believe that as faith leaders together, we can have a strong voice to tackle that problem.
Thank you very much. So those are the stories that we expect to make the cut in the 1930 menus. We did see a story coming from Nakes, where they are talking about the endless workshops that are held in the Ministry of Education, and also we did see a story from the energy, from the Copperbelt Energy Corporation, talking about how much solar power they expect to contribute to the national grid by the end of this year. And also we did look at a story where the Socialist Party is concerned with the mushrooming community guns, commonly known as junkies in our communities, and attributing that particular problem to unavailability of employment and, of course, poverty. And also the other story was talking about exposing children to social media and, of course, what that does to children and how we must guide our children as regards issues to do with social media. So those are some of the stories that we expect in our 1930 menus. We do, of course, have a lot more stories that are coming up. We do have our reporters on the ground giving us these tips of what they are working on. And also, of course, they will be bringing various other stories on that particular bulletin. Remember, it is on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, channel 106 on Topstar, that is Camnet TV, and of course on social media we are on Facebook channel. We are on Facebook, and our user handle is Camnet TV, and of course on on YouTube we are called Camnet TV as well. So those are the platforms you can catch us at 1930 for those particular for that particular news bulletin, which we expect those particular stories to be there in details. Now we are moving on and getting into a segment that takes us back into time, just to give us memories of what used to happen in those days. But before we do that, let's take a short break. We'll be back shortly.
Range of 9 to 7:10. This show will come to you every Saturday at 13:30 on Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Renglow, your smart irrigation partner.
Welcome back. Let's now take you back into time just to remind you of what happened on this particular day a few years ago. And we start with a very interesting story in 2020 when the UPND had directed 5 of its members of parliament not to attend the commissioning of newly constructed police houses. Now, these police houses were constructed in various districts of the country and they were being commissioned during this period in 2020. Let's have a look at this.
United Party for National Development UPND has stopped its 5 members of parliament, 3 from Monze and 2 from Mazabuga, from attending the commissioning of the police houses in various districts of Southern Province. While many other Zambian citizens have been longing to see dialogue from the Patriotic Front and the biggest opposition political party in Zambia, UPND, it seems dialogue will not happen anytime soon. 3rd of July 2020, Mazabuga Central Member of Parliament Garin Kombo and Monza Central Member of Parliament Jack Mwembu addresses the media to give reasons to why the 5 members of parliament were stopped from attending the event. Garin Kombo says UPND finds it difficult to attend to President Lungu's functions as the president, and his team have demonized people of Southern Province.
We have been invited, 5 members of parliament from Livingston, 3 from Monze, and 2 from Mazabuka, to witness the commissioning of the police houses in our various districts. We have found it extremely difficult to attend to President Lungu's functions, and we thought that the public should be aware of the reasons why, so that we don't leave anything to speculation.
Garin Kombo gave examples of discrimination, as Patriotic Front members can gather any time while UPND members are subjected to being arrested.
We have seen Patriotic Front wantonly having meetings anytime they want, anywhere, and there's been no consequence from the Zambia police. There is a collusion between Patriotic Front and, to be specific, the Minister of Home Affairs, Mr. Stephen Kampyongo, who I personally, as his senior at Parliament, have engaged both in writing and physically at their offices to try and explain to them that we are but following a provision of the Constitution. Just for you to be clear.
Basically, COVID-19 is the reason why UPND has stopped its 5 members of parliament from attending the ceremony.
The law that has been issued by the Ministry of Health in relation to the outbreak of the COVID pandemic. As law-abiding citizens of the Republic of Zambia, we have reflected over the invitation and also the repercussions of the COVID-19 pandemic. You are all aware that the numbers of people who have been afflicted by the COVID pandemic are not going down. They are rising. The number of deaths in this country arising from the coronavirus are rising. Now, would you think that it's prudent on our part as leaders to start abrogating the regulations that were made with a view to prevent the spread of the virus in this country? The answer is no.
Jack Mwembu also talked on the issue of political party portraits. The opposition talked of a number of issues such as tribalism and the denying of people from certain provinces in Zambia from obtaining national registration cards. Well, those were some of the reasons why UPND has stopped its 5 members of parliament from Southern Province from attending the commissioning of police houses by the President of the Republic of Zambia, Edgar Chagwa. Constance Mwemba reporting for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
Now, during this period in 2021, the country was mourning the late President, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, and there was quite a lot of issues surrounding Dr. Kaunda's death. And then Lusaka Province Permanent Secretary Elias Kamanga charged that Keke's legacy should not be let to die. So he appealed to people to ensure that they make sure that his legacy is uplifted. Let's have a look at this.
Lusaka Province Permanent Secretary Elias Kamanga says the legacy of Zambia's first president Kenneth Kaunda should not be allowed to die, but that he should be honored in many ways in order to keep his memories alive. It is in this vein that he says a tree planting exercise will be carried out at Hero Stadium in Lusaka, where 97 trees will be planted to symbolize the number of years that Dr. Kaunda lived and to maintain his passion for forestry. Mr. Kamanga asked that Dr. Kaunda also honored old people, and old people's homes will therefore be visited and hampers given to the elderly in honor of the country's founding father.
Lusaka province will be planting 97 symbolic trees. These will be planted in recognition of the 97 years that God was able to bless our founding father with. So we will remember each one of those 97 years by planting a tree so that Dr. Kaunda's life and soul will not completely die. Yes, physically he will not be with us, but we want him through those 97 trees that we have planted to continue to bless us as a nation.
Meanwhile, the body of the first Republican president has been taken to 8 out of 10 provinces so far and is expected to make its final provincial stop on 5th July 2021 at Lusaka's Woodland Stadium. Mr. Kamanga has disclosed that a number of dignitaries have been invited, which includes all heads of political parties. The Lusaka Province PS has advised members of the public to follow the proceedings from home to avoid overcrowding due to the coronavirus. He says only a number that will allow for social distancing will be allowed into the stadium.
That will have the pleasure of coming forward to give a wave to the casket as it passes must be masked up. They must be masked up. All those that won't be masked up, the police that will be lining the routes as well. We'll have police, we'll have foot patrols of the police. We will have also horse patrol by the police. So we need to ensure that we stick to the rules. Those who won't follow the rules, the military, the police will remove them from the numbers, because we don't want you to pose a danger to other people that will be in the queues to probably give a wave.
The procession is expected to be officiated by Republican Vice President Inonge Wina. Zipporah Mushala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Now, during this same period, the then opposition leader Hakainde Hichilema stayed away from Dr. Kaunda's funeral. Let's have a look at this.
Hakainde Hichilema decided to stay away from the official funeral of Dr. Kaunda and claimed that he was not invited. Reasonable and an excellent lie for my brother to claim that he was not invited. In any case, do you need to be invited to go for a funeral? If you look at the program that was released, it says arrival of opposition political party leaders, then arrival of the general public, So are you telling me that under the general public, one cannot go and attend such an important function? This is a function of the founding father of the nation, funeral of the founding father of the nation, where people traveled as far as Serbia, where foreign dignitaries came, and surely that's the function that you can decide to watch in your sitting room.
President Hakainde Hichilema had no invitation card.
And there was no way he was going to go to the funeral without an invitation card. A funeral that His Excellency the President stated clearly in no uncertain terms that it is strictly by invitation, and without a card, no entry. Even when you go to a wedding ceremony, no matter how related you are to the bride or the groom, you are supposed to produce an invitation card, or else the bouncers will not allow you to go in. So whether you go there and say, I am the brother, I am the uncle, I am the father to the bride or the groom, they'll say, yes, granted, but where is your invitation card? And that is all that we were doing. That was happening yesterday. Without an invitation card, there was no way President Hakainde Hichilema was going to appear there. Had he gone there and the fracas ensued, you, the same people, would have turned around and said, look, he took confusion at Kaunda's funeral and therefore showed the highest disrespect for President Kaunda. So he stayed home, but he participated because he watched, like all the other millions of Zambians that watched on television, he too watched on television.
So that was our Forgotten Stories segment, a segment that is meant to bring back some memories of what was happening during those years. So those are the stories that we had for you on our Forgotten Stories segment. We now moving on, we are getting into a segment that we call the viewers' reactions. This is where Patrick Soko joins us just to have a look at, for him to give an expert analysis on the stories that we have, and we give an opportunity for you, the viewers, to participate either via social media or via calling us. So, but before we get into that particular segment, let's take a quick break.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impassioned news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Hey, join me, Amazing Katamanda, on the weekly gospel show for those exciting and interesting interviews with your favorite gospel
Hold on to me when it's too dark to see. You cannot put your power back to
Hallelujah. And this time around, we are bringing to you entertainment news and the counter, as you guys are able to nominate your top 3 favorite music videos of the week. Remember, it's every Saturday at 10:45. You can also catch repeats every Monday at 10 hours. Camnet TV is not just another time.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impassioned news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
In court news, only on Camnet TV. We take you and make you feel part of the court sessions through our in-depth coverage of the adjudication process. Get informed on those that have been arrested delayed and denied the police bond or bail victims, persons taking plea, court adjournments, verdicts, and those administration issues in the judiciary. Camnet TV is on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and find us on channel 106 on Topstar. You can also follow and give us a like on our social media platforms. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
On Monday, 3rd July 2023, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba with his guests, Mr. Brebna Changala, political activist.
We are not swimming ashore. If we are not careful, we might sink.
And Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba.
So it's a serious matter of worry.
As they discuss concerns of human rights in Zambia.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. You are still watching the Lunchtime Cafe on Camnet TV, and we are moving on. Now we have been joined by our in-house expert analyst, Patrick Soko, who is just going to share his thoughts on some of the stories that we are looking at on this particular program. Now remember that this program comes every Mondays to Thursdays at 12 hours. It is called the Lunchtime Cafe. You can catch us on channel 274 on DSTV, 25 on GoTV, and channel 106 on Topstar. We are also live on our Facebook page, which is Camnet TV. So you like that particular page, allow your friends also to like that particular page, and then come to this particular broadcast on that page. Go to the comment section and leave your comments there. We'll be more than happy to see what you think about what we are looking at this particular day. Soko, Patrick, thank you very much for making it to the program. Welcome.
Thank you. It is always a pleasure.
We have quite a number of stories that we are looking at today. On the emerging stories, there was an interesting story coming from Nakes, who agree with the Secretary to the Treasury to say there are too many workshops that are being held, but Nakes is saying, matter they as they are this number of workshops, it's not the head teachers that are organizing the workshops. The head teachers are just invited
to participate
in these workshops.
Yeah, quite interesting views now, and I understand that the Secretary to the Cabinet was addressing that matter in the context of saving costs.
Sure.
And also making sure that people spend more time working as opposed to attending to workshops. That is a concern. But however, like you put it out, it's not the participants who invite themselves. They are just invited to say, we are among those people who are supposed to attend because we are discussing this. And the other interesting issue that sometimes the workshops also may not be funded by the government.
Sure.
But they may be funded by external parties who may want to build capacity depending on what they are working on. So at the end of the day, it varies what sort of workshops they are undertaking. Are they helping towards enhancing their capabilities in terms of them extending the knowledge to learners, or it is just for their personal gain? Which I beg to disagree, because I'm sure that the workshops are aimed at building the necessary capacity.
Sure.
You know, but so I mean, the idea probably would be about making sure that there is consideration to these workshops on how and when they can be held to avoid undermining productivity and also unnecessary costs. If it is there, we are also getting from the coffers of the ministry. Then how can we minimize those workshops? Those are things we can be looking at, because in the name of saving costs. But otherwise, capacity building in whichever industry you may be is something you cannot do away with. Even us as journalists, there are instantly things that continue to change, emerge, and organizations that are responsible, to build the necessary capacity. You have to engage the journalists to understand. Let's say, for instance, human rights reporting, let's say gender reporting. There are things that are emerging, so these journalists have to be up to speed. And some journalists are just coming from, for example, from the colleges, universities into the industry. So they have to be given the necessary support to be up to the optimum level. It is the same with any other industry, like the education sector, where some new teachers are coming on board. But how do we orient them to say, this is how we do things better? So sometimes it depends the context in which a workshop can be held, because some workshops are necessary because you need to build the necessary capacity so that the teachers can have the right skills to be able to teach the learners, so that we can have better learning outcomes.
So we did have another interesting story coming from the Copper Belt Energy, talking green. They are generating currently 34 megawatts of power from the CBU plant, where they're using solar. And now they're saying they're coming up with 2 other plants in Ganaton and in Dimbi, where they will be generating a total of 65 megawatts, and they're saying by the end of this year they will be contributing 100 megawatts to the national grid.
That's quite an interesting development pertaining to the energy sector. Remember, we've been talking about ZESCO and its dominance in the sector. Now, if we are also increasing the footprint of a private sector, it means that we are headed in the right direction, because these power plants go a long way in complementing the current energy mix and the current energy generation capacity. So we need more of such investments, and I think this is a direct response by CEC from the Minister of Green Economy and Environment, who were calling on the engineering fraternity and other players to complement the green agenda, especially in the energy sector and other fraternities. So now it is important that we continue to maximize the energy portfolio using clean other renewable energies other than hydroelectricity, because sometimes when we are affected by adverse effects of climate change, the hydroelectricity tends to be unreliable, and sometimes that has also its own effects to the economy. We saw, like, for instance, when we had issues pertaining to the power deficit in the last year, around September, October, November, it was because on account of lack of adequate water for electricity generation, and that affected us as a country. So now, when we are talking about the energy mix, COSI, it means that we can look at solar. How is solar able to complement us as a country to be able to address the energy deficit? And if we maximize the capacity, it means we have enough to support the local industry and as well as enough to export.
The other story that we had on the emerging story, this one is too close to my heart. In fact, the last 2 stories are close to my heart. Issues of social media and children being exposed to social media.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting story for real, because like you put it, when we look at issues pertaining to social media and children, we have quite a huge task as a people, as a country to do, because what we have done is that we have allowed lawlessness to degenerate into something that may be perceived as normal. Because this is lack of order. For example, you see, these social media platforms nowadays, it's not like in the past where people were selective on what they are posting. People now are compounded by immorality, and they are posting all sorts of things on social media. You'll find people talking about bedroom issues, then they are posting them on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube. Now, these conversations are conversations now that children can be privy to. So for me, if you look at that, COSI, it is a real problem that we need to address and make sure that we pay attention. If we do not address this issue, it may escalate into something very, very serious, because you discover that the generation will be raising will be morally bankrupt. And when we have a morally bankrupt society, issues pertaining to that undermine us as a society, for example, pertaining to same-sex marriages, our children start perceiving such things as normal because they're seeing these images on social media, on various pages, and we do not restrict. So even us as parents, we have a huge role to play to monitor what our children are doing. To what extent do we take an interest? Sometimes we just think that buying a child a phone and automatically they are going to use it responsibly. That's an assumption that is vague and does not really hold water, because children are explorers by nature. So they will continue to explore. What else does this platform offer? They will continue to explore. But if you do not guide them on the do's and don'ts, then it tends to be a problem. I remember sometime in 2017, 2018, we had a serious problem when the social media was becoming an issue in Zambia, was becoming too popular, in that we saw that there were a number of cases of sextortion, and now they are still happening. And they are on social media now. You would find that older men or older people would lure children into sexual activities, like send me pictures, nude pictures and everything. Then these children ignorantly or unknowingly are trusting this person, thinking that is their peer, they can trust this person. They do so. Now, in the end, you discover that that person says, if you are not going to send me so much money, I'm going to expose these pictures. That tend to become a very big problem. And sometimes it has a negative psychological effects on children. And sometimes if they're exposed, or they're exposed their pictures in the public, those issues, we do not pay attention to them, but they are happening as I'm talking, Kozi. So now, how do you protect children from those people who have ill intentions to harm children? Because at the end of the day, these are the people who end up trafficking children, who end up raping and sexually abusing children, you see. So now, how do you prevent that? And all those things, they happen online, Kozi. So if we are not taking proactive approach to mitigate the negative effects of social media, then we are going to see this problem escalate to levels we cannot go back to. So now we need to be also make sure that we put in place the right mechanism. I understand that we have developed cyber laws to talk about, but cyber laws also that we were coming up with. We are mostly talking about the politics of this world and the Patriotic administration. They were not more responsive to address the needs of today. So we need to make sure that now we have the Child Code Bill. We see how we can put in place relevant statutory instruments and policies to make sure that we protect children online. If we're not going to be doing that, I foresee a situation where we may escalate to levels that may not be sustainable for us. So we need to be proactive. So even as you give your child that phone, be mindful that that phone has unlimited sites which the children can be exposed to. So, and illicit content is also on the phone, remember. But the same phone has good things, But how do we make sure that our children are using these phones for education purposes and things that are relevant to their lives? It is us as parents, it is us, it is also the duty of the government and duty bearers to make sure that we promote responsible use of the internet, because if you are going to be raising a generation that is inconsiderate about the usage of the internet, then we may continue bleeding chaos. We have seen that, for example, we have a lot of misinformation and disinformation on social media. Various people wake up to just create these fake stories. Children continue to consume these fake news. How do we help people, even children especially, to know and detect that these are lies? We have a duty also as a media to make sure that we address those issues.
One thing that really puzzles me, something that really worries me, is that at the rate at which we are moving now, our children are far much better than us when it comes to these issues of computers, and we seem, and also us, our generation, we are far much better than our parents. So these things seem to be going down. The more we grow, the more we take less interest into these issues, and the more children that are growing up are taking interest into this. So it will be very difficult to control a child to restrict a child on issues to do with the internet and digital things when they know actually better than you do?
You are right. You are right. That's another thing that we need to look at.
Sure.
We need to continuously explore, but there are various lessons, even on online, where parents can learn how to monitor their children
Recently,
and responsible use of the internet.
Recently, I was teaching my son how to play FIFA. He's now far much better than I am.
You see.
So sometimes it's I don't know how best.
But it's only obvious because you are here and your son probably even also says he wants to explore and play the game.
Yes, and so those are the dangers.
Yeah, so they explore. So, but you know, when children are empowered with the knowledge, they are able to use it. So if you are able to sense that, so this same social phone, you can find scammers here.
Yes.
I remember, you know, sometimes people are rigid, you know, especially if they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I remember that we have some people who are adamant when we tell them to say, this gambling site you are visiting, you will be swindled. They will say, no, you are just hindering my progress. I want to make money. You understand?
This is simple money, quick money.
Quick money.
So how can you tell me that I'll be scammed?
So you see, but if you tell your child now to say, this internet you are exposed to has the advantages and disadvantages, the pros and cons. So now we look at what are the advantages? The advantages among them, of course, it is the fact that we can get education, we can get to listen to music, we can get anything good. But there are also disadvantages, like you can get swindled, like you can lose your money electronically. You can be exposed to things, illicit content. So these are things. So as a parent, you need to guide children against.
Is there? Am I thinking outside the box? Is there a way that Zikta and these mobile can restrict some sites or something like that? Is there a way phones could be restricted to how far they can go as regards surfing the internet, so that we have phones that are rated 18 and phones that are for children?
I like the idea, but you know, what you are suggesting, Kozi, is possible. Like for me, if I'm raising a child, for me my idea is that if my child we should have a computer in the house which I'm able to monitor on the usage.
Sure.
But I should buy my child a feature phone. I hope you understand the logic.
Yeah, sure, I do understand.
Yes.
So it is.
You see, the feature phone there is for communication and everything. But if the child wants to research your computer, that computer you can monitor it.
Sure.
Because there are ways you can monitor. You can even use the one single browser and make sure that you are able to go to the history of the browser. Because if you go on the history of a browser, it will tell you what site have been visited.
Sure.
You understand? Then the internet themselves, those experts also know to say sites frequently visited if you are having a router or anything. You can also have a software that can guide you to monitor the usage.
Sure.
You can install it there.
So if the internet could be disabled and people could only use VPN to access the internet, then there's something that should be done to disable some sites or to just make available.
That is possible.
Sure.
That I agree with you is possible. That's why, for example, nowadays we have what they call education tablets.
Sure.
So those are accustomed to sites that are educational.
Yeah. So like educational tablets should not visit any other unnecessary sites.
Yeah. So if you look, for example, the lot of exposure that we get nowadays is that, for example, it's also through music.
Sure.
Because sometimes secular music, also the way people do their secular music is that it's full of nudity.
Yeah.
And it is full of vulgar language. And what do we do? It is easily accessible on YouTube, and they can access this. And what they do? They learn how other people dress. They learn how other people insult. They learn all those bad things. You may want to discourage them. So also all those things are things we need to be paying attention to.
Oh yeah.
What sort of music? And Partly the responsibility also lies in how are we raising our children. If children are being raised in understanding the gospel of Jesus Christ, for me, they may have restraint. You understand?
Sure.
Even the things they'll be doing, for example, they may focus on religious and educational things. But if you are raising children too secular, then you are in for it.
Sure.
There's nothing you can do.
So the other story also is talking about mushrooming community gangs, junkies. The socialist party is attributing this particular problem to non-availability of employment and also poverty. But this is a problem that is increasingly becoming a huge problem.
Yeah, those are just among the two. Those two are just among the attributes, but there are many.
Sure, sure.
What we are just talking about is also among the reasons. What are our children exposed to? They are exposed to other behaviors that they see on the internet.
Sure.
The music we sing sometimes, most of the times, also exalts immorality. And what do you expect in people? They want to feel like gangsters.
Sure.
So as a result, and also what are we doing as a society to handle issues pertaining to drug and substance abuse, alcohol abuse? What are we doing? Are we that proactive? So if we are not able to answer those questions, then we know that we have a problem somewhere. Sure. And that's where that's the beginning of us addressing these problems, to make sure that we are able to tackle this serious issue. Because you'd find that if you are not able to manage this child, it is no wonder they are found outside when they should be inside the house at 19 hours. They are outside attacking other people. It means that you have failed from the house. So everything else fails from the house. Even the governance of this country fails from the family.
They say charity begins at home.
Yes. So if we have, so the simple analysis of development is that if we have too many families that are doing fine, it means that the entire community will be well off. If we have a community that is full of poor people, you cannot expect the community to be rich. You expect the community overall to be poor.
Sure.
So now, what are we doing to make sure that these families of these homes are well off in terms of being able to fend for themselves, being able to manage their family affairs, being able to coordinate activities of the extended families? So sometimes there are small things that we let loose, but they tend to affect us overall as a society and as a people. I'll give you an example of when last did you even, I was even laughing, there was someone who was saying, you want to come and control people when you have never even held a successful family meeting. You know, even at family level, because yourself, because you just address issues in isolation. You know, today you're talking to the madam, tomorrow you're talking to the child. But when did you say, as the head of the house, I want everyone by 19 to be here. There's a pertinent issue I want to resolve.
Yes.
When do you do that? It's there. Sometimes when do we say as the extended family, the entire extended family, when are we going to have our own meeting. And have some
discuss
good time?
Issues?
But those were happening in the past. We used to see that. But nowadays, because he wants to focus on him and his immediate children.
Sure.
So if we start looking back at the extended family, we'll go a long way, because, for example, I would be able to be considerate for my other relatives to say, no, we can't allow this child to go in this direction because they'll be lost. Let's help this child. What are we helping? How are we going to help this child? We identify what's the problem. The problem may discover that probably the child needs to go to school, and it's because they don't have resources to go to school. But how about if you, as a family, you contribute resources and be able to send that child to school? You would have solved the problem. But if you are going to let that problem escalate and just leave it to the government, then you are going to see another problem emerge in the future. You are going to raise a criminal. And sometimes, if you are not careful, they will come even beat you there at your home.
Yes.
Immediately you try to control them, because you let things go out of control. So if you look at these things, because they are really cross-cutting, but it goes back to us focusing on family building. If we build strong family bonds, then I don't think we'll be able to have societies that are collapsing. Because for us to build a solid society, we need families that are able to stick together, regardless of the turbulences, families that are thinking progressive development, that want to develop one another. Then these families, when they will develop the entire community. If these families develop, they will develop the province, they will develop overall, they will develop the country. That's how other countries are developed. It's because at family level, these people are doing fine. So now, how do you make sure that 90% of each and every community are doing fine, and they are raising their children properly and using the right principles?
I have a solution.
What is that?
For junkies. If we find junkies and it is confirmed that they are junkies, we don't take them to the police, we take them to guard rooms. Take them either to military barracks, lock them up there, and then they should be working in the barracks, like cleaning and doing everything. I tell you, they can't come back to that behavior when they come out from there.
Aye. Interesting.
This is the Lunchtime Cafe. We are looking at a number of stories. We were just looking at the stories that we think will make the cut during our 19 hours menus tonight, 1930 menus tonight. And also, those stories did include a story from the CEC, who are generating solar power and are hoping, they are currently generating 34 megawatts, and they are hoping to generate 100 megawatts, to contribute 100 megawatts to the national grid by the end of this year. And also, we were looking at the story to do with the workshops that the Ministry of Education continuously have. And also, we were looking at another story which spoke to the issue of digital issues and also social media issues and what that does to children. And also we were looking at another story of community gangs which are called junkies in most of our communities. How do we treat this particular problem? So those are some of the stories that we expect to make the cut on the 1930 news. We did also look at some interesting stories from this Forgotten Stories segment. In 2020, during this period, the UPND had directed its members of parliament not to attend the commissioning of those police houses that were being built. And also, in 2021, this is a period that we were mourning the late Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. And there were a lot of people that were giving their views as regards Dr. Kaunda's death. And also, the then opposition leader, now President Hakainde Hichilema, did not attend the funeral. And some people were speaking. Dr. Kambwili did talk and said, no, you don't need an invitation to attend the funerals. But we will get to your views on these particular stories shortly after this short break.
It's time! Camnet TV brings to you an exciting kid show called My Creation. Join me, Sarah Chandamagazagia, to interact with kids with special skills and talents between the age range of 9 to 17. This show will come to you every Saturday at 13:30 on Camnet TV, not just another channel.
On Monday, 3rd July 2023, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba with his guests, Mr. Brebda Changala, political activist.
We are not swimming ashore. If we are not careful, we might sink.
And Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba.
So it's a serious matter of worry.
As they discuss concerns of human rights in Zambia.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Hey, join me, Amazing Katamanda, on the weekly gospel show for those exciting and interesting interviews with your favorite gospel music.
Hold on to me when it's too dark to see. You cannot put your power back to
Hallelujah.
And this time around, we are bringing to you entertainment news and the countdown, as you guys are able to nominate your top 3 favorite music videos of the week. Remember, it's every Saturday at 10:45. You can also catch repeats every Monday at 10 hours. Camnet TV is not just another time.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
For the latest updates in court news, only on Camnet TV. We take you and make you feel part of the court sessions through our in-depth coverage of the adjudication process. Get informed on those who have been arrested, delayed and denied the police bond or bail victims, persons taking plea, court adjournments, verdicts, and those administration issues in the judiciary. Camnet TV is on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and find us on channel 106 on Topstar. You can also follow and give us a like on our social media platforms. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. You are still watching the Lunchtime Cafe on Camnet TV. And moving on, we now get into the main interview. And this is a segment where we discuss various issues as regards the governance of this country. And today we are lucky we have been joined by Mr. Bernard Uteka, who is the Secretary General for a non-governmental organization which is called Citizens Against Political Violence. And he's here to discuss various issues surrounding the governance of the country, and also considering the fact that it is Heroes and Unity Day. What does this really mean to the country? Mr. Uteka, thank you very much for making it to Camnet. Welcome to the interview.
Thank you, Magopa. Good afternoon, and good afternoon, viewers.
Let's start with the holiday itself. It is Heroes and Unity Day. What does this mean to the country?
Thank you very much. So to begin with, when you talk about Heroes and Unity Day, first of all, we are talking about people that are doing different things, sacrificing the welfare of our nation. We have quite different people. We have farmers, we have civil servants, we have civil society organizations, we have the church. So, the little that they are doing in upbringing the welfare of our country, we need to celebrate and we need to remember them. So basically, that is it that we're talking about, the issues of, Heroes Day. Suffice also to say, Magoba, that we also think about people that have sacrificed for our nation. This is also a better time to remember those that, fought for our independence, especially those that fought for our celebration, our late, founding president, and the various leaders that are still alive, some of them. To mention just a few, we have people like Vijay, the common Vijay, Manga, and the rest of the team. And so we need to celebrate those people that have gone before us and those that are still alive in terms of the sacrifice that I've made. In terms of unity, we're talking about as a nation, they say that it's important that, everything starts with the unity. They say united you stand, and divided you fall. So as a nation, it's important that we are united. So henceforth, I think this reason that we reflect, what is it that we are doing better that we can forge ahead, so that for the common good of our nation as Zambia, what is it that we are not doing better that we can also fine-tune, so that at the end of the day, each and every individual feels part and parcel of the governance or the responsibility of making sure that our nation prospers. I think that is the desire for each and every citizen.
Let's talk about the church. What role should the church play in the governance of the country?
Thank you very much. So you realize that each and every human being belongs to a religion of some sort of. It doesn't matter whether you are, a Muslim, you are a Christian, you belong to Hindu. At the end of the day, we belong to some form of spiritual, God, I would say. And so the church is like, would say more or less like, the referee. I can compare the church to be like a referee in a football pitch, whereby, his responsibility is to give guidance in terms of how players are supposed to conduct themselves and play in the field, so that there's a level playing field. So in terms of the church, the role of the church cannot be overemphasized in the governance of our nation, because you realize that these churches, they have invested quite a lot in terms of health sector, in terms of education sector, and quite the agriculture sector. They have invested a lot. And so they are supplementing the work that the government is doing in terms of uplifting the social and economic welfare of our country. And so the church, more or less like, they are a guide in terms of how the government is supposed to operate. When they see that things are not moving well, they are able to come in and offer guidance in terms of policies formulation, in terms of just the conduct, especially of politicians. So in a nutshell, you cannot detach the church from the governance of a nation, and the church cannot detach itself from the governance of the nation, because they are like a referee to offer guidance and also issues to do with the moral values. It's the church's responsibility to ensure that the nation like Zambia, we are a Christian nation. So it means that it's the responsibility of the church to give guidance in terms of the government, where policy formulation are concerned, in terms of promoting, morality in our nation.
Now, the UPND has been in power for 2 years, 2 years, 8
almost,
now? Almost 2 years, 8 months. How would you rate their promises, especially as regards the issues to do with the rule of law?
Thank you very much. So, when we talk about the rule of law, I think paramount and sufficient to say that firstly it starts with the issues to do with the leadership, because leadership is very critical in ensuring that things are propelled according to the desire of general citizens. So when we talk about the rule of law, we are talking about institutions that have been mandated by our constitution to oversee the principles of the rule of law. And these are the issues to do with, for example, the judiciary. Okay, it starts from there. The judiciary as an arm also of governance. It should be noted that if we have the judiciary that is not free, from the executive, it becomes very difficult to maintain the rule of law. Secondly, you also realize that it also has to do with the various law enforcing agencies that are mandated by our constitution to oversee the issues of the rule of law. So these institutions, they have to be independent. These institutions, they have to operate independently without any, feel or fear of maybe being exposed or maybe being fired once they carry out, their mandate and responsibility. So from our onset as an organization, we have seen quite a number of tremendous improvement in as far as the issues to do with the rule of law is concerned, especially issues to do with order. I think those days you realize that it was very difficult for people to come out in open because of fear. But this time we see, people walking freely in the streets, trading freely. So that on its own, it entails that there is some element of leadership that maybe would say it was lacking, that people now are able to trade in our markets and bus stations freely. Suffice to say that, there are a few pockets of those that still feel that that issues of element or cadalism mentality, which from the onset, I think the president has said it, that if somebody does that, he or she is on their own. So leadership has been very critical, and from our point of view, we appreciate that this New Dawn government has pushed in the agenda or raised that bar that citizens should be able to learn the importance of coexistence. They should be able to understand that despite us having different ethnic background and belong to different tribes, at the end of the day, we are one. We belong to one Zambia. So when I see a brother trading in the market, I should be able to give a hand. When I see a sister trading, a mother trading, I should be able to give a hand, rather despite them or us belonging to different political parties. So from our point of view, I think leadership has been very critical, which has been offered starting from the president himself, and we would love to see more, and from also the followers. These ministers, permanent secretaries, and even different political players in UPND and also other political parties where the rule of law is concerned. So leadership has been offered, has been provided, which is a very critical step. Then we also have seen at least free expression of people's views. Others might term it to say, no, we are seeing quite a number of arrests. It's debatable because that is, I think, the role of the investigative wings to either say what they are doing is objective or not. But from our point of view, people have freely been expressing themselves in different media houses. We have seen even your station hosting opposition political parties who have different views from the government, which is a positive development in as far as the issues to do with the rule of law and governance is concerned, because that promotes the sense of belonging. So that has been there. Of course, we have a long way to go in as far as ensuring that these trends that the UPND, especially the president, is talking about, sinks to every individual to ensure that we need to coexist. We might have different divergent views, but at the end of the day, we need to coexist, and we are one. So we can differ in terms of principles, in terms of beliefs, but at the end of the day, we cannot differ in as far as where governance is concerned. Yeah.
Now there has been a school of thought that says the UPND is using these law enforcement agencies to persecute its political opponents. What do you make of this thought?
Thank you very much. Of course, like I said, issues to do with investigations, issues to do with prosecution, those are left in the hands of the investigative wings and our courts of law that are quite competent. As of late, we have seen those assertions where political parties, especially those coming from the opposition, whenever an arrest has been made, assertions have been made that UPND, especially pointing the president that is behind these arrests, especially when somebody has to do with a political inclined or exposed individual. There have been that assertion, but we want to be quick to mention that the investigative wings have been given that mandate, and it's their responsibility to ensure that each one of us lives in accordance with the dictates of what our constitution says. So when these investigative wings do an arrest, or maybe they issue a call out to somebody, especially politicians who have seen this trend where, they will announce to the whole world, the whole world, me, I'm being called, which on its own, it raises a lot of suspicion, because they are not the only ones, politicians, that are being called by these investigative wings. Quite a number of Zambians that are free, we don't hear about them. They are being called to these investigating agencies to talk about maybe what they suspect to be maybe proceeds of crime and so forth. But it only becomes a challenge when, politicians are involved. That's when we see a lot of challenges and so forth. So from our point of view, it would be wise that issues to do with investigations are left in the hands of the investigative wings, and issues to do with the finding somebody guilty or not is left in the hands of our competent courts, so that at the end of the day, we can be able to judge these investigative agencies and the courts based on what the judgment will be done. We have seen again some individuals being acquitted from the same opposition political parties. They have been to courts, have been acquitted, but we have not seen at that point where they come in now to talk about, to say that maybe I'm happy that the courts of law are objective and so forth. But the moment when an arrest is made, they are quick to point out that they are being persecuted. So suffice to say that at the end of the day, I think the judgment that we can give to the government of the day, the UPND, in terms of issues to do with this prosecution, because they are the ones that are in charge at the moment with governance issues. It is dependent on how much resources are being, given out or are being brought to the state coffers as proceeds of crime, and how many individuals are being, prosecuted. I think from the onset, one of the things that I think we need to appreciate so very much, based on maybe the little knowledge that we have in law, they are assertions that an individual can go to the, these investigative wings and surrender freely their belongings, and they will not be prosecuted. So I think it's also the responsibility of the government of the day to ensure that citizens are informed about the developments to do with proceeds of crime, how much is being, gotten, so that citizens, they do not feel like, this fight is just targeted to individuals. But at the end of the day, we need to see tangible results that is happening, so that we are able to appreciate. So my call and my plea would be that the government institutions, agencies that are mandated to talk about issues to do with citizens' awareness, we are given quite enough responsibility and information, so that we are able to judge based on what information we get.
Generally, how would you rate the UPND's performance as regards the election campaign promises that they made?
So to begin with, I think rating UPND performances would be ideal to look at what is it that they promised the people of Zambia from the onset. There was issues to do with, ensuring that there will be more money, so-called, in people's pockets, in that there will be quite a number of, incentives that will be given to citizens. One of the things that we have seen so far is that there are issues to do with the payment of retirees. I think you and me were able to appreciate and see that we had quite a number of retirees camping at the Ministry of Finance, be it another government institution, crying daily in and out for their money. But we have seen and we have been updated that these retirees are being paid. People are withdrawing partial NAPSA. In terms of how that law was supposed to be done is debatable. But at the end of the day, you and me know that the result is that there's more money in people's pockets. So in that context, I believe that they are living to the promises that they made. There are quite a number of course, challenges that we would love to see, UPND government fulfill. For example, issues to do with the, access to information, by citizens. I think when such bills are passed and people are able to freely access information, speculations will reduce. issues, for example, to do with how the 65 million was spent. If you and I have got access to this information, it will not even be able to go to Parliament for parliamentarians to start asking. That simply shows there is a gap. So we'd love to see them working towards that. Of course, issues to do with the, political violence, which is a cornerstone of our organization. We have also seen quite a number of improvement that the president himself came forth and said, if anybody is involved in political violence, then they are on their own. So the call now comes to agencies, the investigative agencies, the police and others. If an individual is involved in political violence, and then it happens to that individual, so that at the end of the day, we are not tarnishing the image, of maybe the head of state just because maybe an office or an officer has failed to do their duties. So it is the responsibility of these agencies to ensure that they are able to, gag through. And at the end of the day, there's also an issue, for example, to do with the citizens' freedom. I think that is one critical thing that citizens like. We saw those days whereby, the so-called cadres that were in the inner circle, they could walk in the, interview room like we are. They could fish out people they felt they were not able to believe in their ideologies. But at the end of the day, we have seen that improvement. Yes, a pocket of resistance, as I said from the beginning, is there, but we are heading somewhere. So that we need to work on the improvement so that at the end of the day, we do not return back to a situation whereby people, especially the law enforcement agencies, they fear to perform their duties, or be it journalism or journalists, they fear to inform us of anything because of the fear of what happens next. So in that context, if we are to judge them based on these principles, we can say that from our point of view, I think the score, if I was to rate them from a score of 10, I would say we are now at 6 out of 10. So meaning that 60% we are there, 40% quite a lot also to be done, because at the end of the day, we need to see quite a number of improvement in various sectors.
As we come to the end of this interview, Mr. Oteka, what are your concluding remarks?
Thank you very much. So my concluding remarks would be that firstly, it is the responsibility of politicians to ensure that they unite this nation by virtue of their conduct, by virtue of their sentiments. And so our call would be that politicians especially should be able to, speak things that shall build us. They should be able to represent Zambia, not their constituency, but they should be able to represent Zambia, because they should realize that in their constituency, there are different Zambians that are that are based in that constituency. So as a result of that, it is important that they speak not as a constituency, but they speak representing the views of the country. Also to the church, we all belong to the church, and we cannot run away from the fact that we need spiritual guidance in our day-to-day lives, as we desire to live lives that are worthy and pleasing in the sight of our Maker. So it is important that the church works and collaborative with the government in an event that they see challenges that are facing the government. They should be able to point out in a manner that will be able not to injure the government or to be viewed as being political, but they should be able to see these leaders in a way that some of us may not even know that they have seen them. In that way, I think at the end of the day, we shall live a life that will be okay, and we shall all benefit from their wisdom and the counsel that we all much need.
Mr. Teka, I'd like to thank you very much for making an appearance on the Lunchtime Cafe.
Thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless Zambia.
We have been talking to a community against political violence Secretary General Bernard Oteka, and he was talking to us about issues surrounding governance of this particular country. We now come to the end of today's Lunchtime Cafe. Don't forget to join us again tomorrow at the same time as we bring to you another exciting program. On behalf of the entire production team, have a blessed afternoon.
Yes, hello. Record the social media. Yashancha record ya for desires.
With rapid urbanization throughout the developing world, water and sanitation utilities are facing increasing pressure to provide reliable, safe drinking water and sanitation management and treatment services. However, these are highly energy intensive activities. The International Energy Agency has estimated that electricity consumption of the water sector worldwide was at 4% of the total global electricity consumption in the year 2016. And in Zambia, energy is among the major costs for utilities. During our visit to the Lusaka Water and Sanitation Company water installations in the year 2023 in Kafue District, in the year 2022 in Kafue District, we were made aware that energy is among the costs draining the coffers. And to partly address the problem, recently the Energy Regulation Board (ERB) announced the introduction of a specific tariff for the water sector. The National Water Supply and Sanitation Council (NWASCO) National Water Supply and Sanitation Council NWASCO Chief Inspector Peter Mutale says the introduction of a specific water tariff is a step in the right direction, but that it will mostly benefit small utilities. Analyzing the prospects of the new water tariffs, Mr. Mutale says engagements will continue to find ways on how utilities can be cushioned. Patrick Soko, Camnet News. With rapid urbanization throughout the developing world, water and sanitation utilities are facing increasing pressure to provide reliable, safe drinking water and sanitation management and treatment services. Sanitation management services. However, with rapid urbanization throughout the developing world, water and sanitation utilities are facing increasing pressures to provide reliable, safe drinking water and sanitation management services. However, these are highly energy intensive activities. The International Energy Agency has estimated that electricity consumption of the water sector worldwide was at 4% of the total global electricity consumption. And in Zambia, energy is among the major costs for utilities. And during our visit to the Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company water installations in Kafue District, we were made aware